Hello, everyone. I don't know if Twitch plays an ad before before you start watching, so maybe I'll wait a second. Well, welcome to A Black Garden, tips and ideas for a Gothic garden. I'm a little bit more nervous for this panel than I am for my other panel, just so you guys know, because I don't really know what I'm talking about that much. I'm not really that good at gardening, to be honest. I'm sorry, hold on. Yeah, I'm not that good at gardening, to be honest. Like last year, everything that I planted pretty much died. So I guess that's the true Gothic garden. Feel free to talk while this is happening, by the way, because I'm okay with you guys talking to me and everything. I don't mind you asking questions and everything throughout. So my name is Nicole Ghost. I also go by La Vida en la Forêt Noire, which it means life in Black Forest, because I live in an area of Colorado called Black Forest, and it's an actual forest. So a lot of the imagery that you see in like the Rosé Forêt stuff, specifically like Winter in the Woodlands, that's my backyard. Um, and I also, since I live in Colorado and I live in a forest, it is pretty cold here. And that's partly why I have such a hard time gardening, because it gets really cold and nothing wants to live. I think that I'm actually, I'll get to this later actually. So I've been doing Lolita fashion for about 10 years. I've been doing Gothic fashion for about 18 years. And I do Cult Party K, which I've been doing for about 6 years. Although I did take a break for about half of that time. So as you can see from my black walls and everything, I have, a Gothic aesthetic house. And I also, try to grow black flowers. So I've done a lot of research on which flowers are black. Haven't done that well with the actual growing part on them, but we'll see. So before we begin, just want to point this out that, like, what do plants consider black? Because if you're looking for black flowers, you'll often see pictures of flowers that are pure black, but very often they're not going to be pure black when you get them. Like the pictures are usually like their very, very best flowers, or they're edited, or they're in the shade so that they look darker. Usually when you get a flower that is called black, and it's not just like, this is just what people refer to it as, by the way, usually it's going to be a dark purple, like these hollyhocks, or they're going to be like dark red, like these geraniums. There's also like things that are called chocolate or will also be called black. So dark brown is another one that you'll see a lot too. So yeah, just don't be disappointed when you get something that is supposed to be black and it's not actually black, because that's just the way it is. Black is actually a very hard color to come by in botany in general. Sorry, I was just trying to see what was going on in the chat. Okay. Some of these flowers that I'm going to be showing you are going to be, some of them are going to be pure black, and I'll point them out. So if you don't know anything at all about gardening, I just wanted to show this real quick because like there's different zones, and obviously this is United States. If you live in a different country, you're going to have different zones there as well. If you live in the United States, since the United States has so many different climates in, the country, you're going to have a lot of different variations in like what you can actually grow. So for instance, if you're at a zone 4, like we are in Colorado, you're going to have a harder time because a lot of plants don't really grow in these kind of temperatures. Whereas if you lived in like, California, 9 and 10, like those, you're going to have a lot easier time with plants. So I know that Kat Von D has this, like, there was this whole thing about Kat Von D with this black Gothic garden that she had. And I was like, okay, she can only really grow that because she lives in LA. So like you can try, like I said, I'm not that good at gardening, and it's partly because of my zones. I even like we're within the city. So even though it says like I'm at a, zone 4 here, I'm probably more at a zone 3 because where I live is a little higher altitude than like the nearest city that I live in. Nearest city that I live near, or however that wording goes. And even if you like live in LA, for example, you might actually even be at a higher zone because like the asphalt might make your, your ground more hot or something like that. Like just different factors to your zoning. So that's just something to bear in mind. A lot of plants will have, when you buy them, will have like what grows best between zone 7 and 9 or something like that. So, yeah. So let's get to it. The first one that I'm going to show you are petunias. The reason why I'm pointing out petunias is because, for one, they're very, very easy to grow. And for two, you can kind of find black petunias pretty much anywhere. And I'm not saying like you're going to go to your, nearest garden center and find them, but they're pretty easy to find. I've seen them at grocery stores. I get them from my local nursery. I've seen them at Home Depot. Like they're pretty common, and I think it's because black petunias are actually considered a, what is the word? An accent flower. So people will grow them alongside the other more colorful ones. So like I said, it's pretty easy to find petunias that are, black around you, usually. So yeah, like I said, they also are very easy to care for. They pretty much just need sun and some water sometimes. I've given them a lot of sun. I've given them a little bit of sun. You can even grow them indoors if you want to. They pretty much don't die. The only time that I've had trouble with petunias is if I overwatered them. I have noticed that they look kind of sad if you overwater them. Their colors aren't as vibrant and they look just a little bit wilty, which is weird because, like I said, I've never had any problems with petunias in any aspect. So yeah, I would say probably let your petunias, the like soil dry out for a couple days before you water them. This is one that is also can be true black. I think that I've gotten true black more often than I haven't gotten true black. So like, as you can see, there is this dark purple one here. That is, something that you'll get sometimes, but the one on the left that is black, that one is actually the more common that I've gotten, is because petunias have these like little hairs all over the petals and all over the leaves and stuff. So it kind of makes this little like velvety texture to it. And I think because of the hairs and the velvetyness of it, it makes it look more dark. But also because of those little hairs, it smells so bad. I think that I think that petunias stink. So I really don't like when you have to deadhead them and stuff. I hate that part. And the hairs also make it kind of sticky because it makes this kind of oil on the flower. So you'll get, you know, if you're doing it by hand, your hands will get all sticky. And if you're doing it with like shears, your shears are going to get all sticky. So that is one thing about petunias is that they have those hairs. um, Petunias also wilt immediately after picking them. So they're not very good for crafts or bouquets or anything like that. They're really just kind of a potted plant. Well, they're best for potted plants. You can grow them in the ground. And like I said, you can grow petunias indoors. I've grown them over winter indoors. You can have them as a house plant. They're very easy. They're very easy plants. They're good. So next one we have is pansies and violas. I put violas in here, but to be honest, I actually haven't ever seen a pure black viola. The only ones that I've ever seen are dark purple. So I actually shouldn't have added violas in this, but I just did. Pansies and violas, if you don't know, are pretty much the same flower. The only difference is violas are smaller. Violas are usually about like they're like about an inch in diameter, and pansies can get to about 3 inches. I've seen them about like this big before. Yeah, dark purple is still goth. I mean, that I'm not against it. I'm just saying they're not black. I just personally like for the violas, they're just like to me they're just purple. Like they're not I wouldn't even consider them like dark purple really. Like there's one that people always put in lists for like got black flowers and it's columbines. And honestly, I've gotten those black columbines that they say that they're supposed to be black and they're straight up just purple. So like that's just my only complaint is like I guess they are pretty dark for a regular flower, but they're not black or something that I would consider like dark. So that was just my whole point on that. Pansies are pretty easy to grow from a seed. You can actually start them indoors. You can start them right now. You can start them in February even. You can start them in a little like egg carton, and then once they get their adult leaves, you can put them in the ground outside. From my experience, pansies do better in the ground than they do in a pot because if you pansies will like droop when they are in need of water, but they like when you put them in a pot, they get dry too quickly, and if you let them wilt too often, or I'm sorry, droop. If you let them droop too often, they don't really like that. They start to do pretty poorly. So you have to kind of keep up on your watering your pansies and violas. Because yeah, they get sad if you neglect them too much. These are ones that I have gotten for them to be true black. But it does take a lot of work. They need full sun for them to be full black, and they need you can't let them wilt. You know, you can't let them droop. I mean, because they will not look as nice. They are usually dark purple though, which like we just established is still goth, but not the violas. The violas are straight up purple, just the pansies. They will sometimes have other colors though. Very often, they'll have like this little leaf outside. So pansies and violas, they all have these 3 leaves here, and then they have these 2 black these 2 leaves in the back. I'm sorry, I keep saying leaves, but it's actually petals. And this one down here is actually called the beard. So I've had it where these all are black, and this one right here is yellow. And I've actually had that all in the same plant where all of them are pure black, and then this one down here is, you know, okay, I'm sorry, I'm messing up. Okay, I've had it in the same plant where half of them are like pure black, and then half of them are all black with this yellow leaf beard here. And I was actually pretty upset about that. I mean, it looks fine, but I don't want yellow. Yeah, another thing that I've seen pretty commonly is the inner like part of this leaf where it's like a little bit darker here. I've seen that where that's pure black and this is outside is purple. But and that's the more common one is the pure black on the inside and the purple on the outside. I've also seen them dark red on the outside as well, which I've actually found them at Home Depot, the dark red ones. So pansies and violas can be overwintered indoors. They usually are sold as annuals, which means that they would die when it frosts, which is true. But pansies and violas actually are perennials. I think they live for 2 to 3 years. And you, like I said, you can overwinter them indoors. So if you don't want to put them in the ground, you can put them in a pot and have them indoors and have them again for next year. So if you want to do that, you just cut. No, you don't cut them down. You actually just like water them less. They're gonna die back. Like they're not gonna keep blooming during the winter. They're gonna just be the leaves, and a large part of it is gonna die. Like it's gonna turn yellow and stuff and just dry. But once the spring comes, you can cut back all of that dead stuff, and you'll so that you only have the green stuff, and then put it back outside, and it'll start growing again. Yep, they can live pretty long. I've had mine live about 3 years. I don't know if I just messed up the 3rd year and they could actually live longer than that, but yeah, pansies are technically perennials. Okay. The full sun. Okay, yeah, you could do the full sun or part shade. And they do need more water if you put them in the full sun because it dries out their feet so much. The other great thing about pansies is that you can press them. They make really good pressed flowers, and you can make a lot of really neat crafts with them. So the next one is poppies. There are 2 kinds of black poppies. There's a single and peony poppy. Both of these neither one of them are actually black. They're usually this kind of dark maroony color or like a purpley color. The single is like this one. So it's basically, it's got the single layer of petals here. And the peony poppy has this kind of more like ruffled petal. They do take a long time to seed though. They take probably like 2 to 3 years to actually get them going. I've heard this from multiple different people that poppies are hard to start. I don't really know why. I actually personally have not really had good luck with poppies because I haven't lived where I've lived very long. And the poppies that I have tried, I don't know. Like I had actual poppy plants and they didn't do well. I don't know. Part of the reason why my poppies didn't do very well is because where I live is very, very windy, and poppies are very tall. They're about 2 to 3 feet tall. So because of the wind and them being so tall, they got tattered. So yeah, if you do have poppies, protect them from the wind. I have heard though that once you get your poppies established, that they're very, very easy. I have personally seen poppies when I'm like walking around in the woods. And I don't think that they're wild poppies. I think that somebody planted them there. So it's very clear that they don't really care that much about the soil. They just pretty much just need sun and they're good to go. Um, uh, oh, oh, I did hear before that pansies are edible. I've never tried to eat one though. I'm sure it tastes fine. They don't really have that much of a scent, so I can kind of see that they would be more mild. So yeah, poppies shouldn't be replanted. You should seed your poppies where they're going to be for the rest of their life, because they don't, if you cut their roots at any point, they will die. So if you get like a poppy plant and you need to replant it into your garden, use the whole container, like make a hole big enough for the entire container, because if you, like I said, if you cut it at any point, they will die. They are self-sowing, so they make a seed, what's the word, seed pod, and then they drop all the seeds right before it snows, and they will come back again in like 2 to 3 years. So usually when people have a lot of poppies, they have had these poppies growing for about 10 years, because they grow back from like several years. If you get what I'm saying, like the seeds from this year will grow in like 2 years, and the seeds from next year will grow like the next year after that. If you get what I'm saying. Succession here. And then again, like I said, protect them from the wind, because they're tall boys and they don't like the wind. The next one we have is lilies and tulips. Lilies and tulips, I group them together because they're both bulb plants and they're pretty similar. They can be pure black or at least very, very dark. I've normally seen them as kind of a more like dark reddish, or like I have seen tiger lilies also be kind of like a dark purple, but they are pretty close to black, I would say. So with bulb plants, you do want to plant them in the autumn, because they need a certain amount of time in the cold. If you plant them in the springtime, they're pretty much gonna die. And you'll just have, like, if you go in and look for them, it's just gonna be a dirt clod. I don't know why they need like this certain time of cold, but they do. If you get your bulbs in the beginning, like in the springtime, you can put the bulbs in the fridge until it's time to plant them in the autumn. In the fall. And that should work in theory. I personally sometimes have not had this work, so good luck with that. You usually only get like 1 to 2 blooms from your bulb plants, your lilies and tulips. But they do last quite a while. I would say they last like probably like a month or so. You can also cut the plants, cut the flowers, and make them into a bouquet, and they live pretty much that entire time as well. I like how in Animal Crossing the flowers that are black are not actually black either. True to life. Animal Crossing is so realistic. She digs up the bulbs and plants it. Yeah, you can do that as well. Like, you can grow tulips and all of these. You can grow them in pots, like they're fine, but you do need a pretty deep pot. Like they need a, I think it's like 6 inches deep is how far deep you have to plant them. Gosh, I'm sorry, words. But yeah, you can move your your bulbs and do like, if you don't even like where they are right now, you can move them. They're pretty cool like that. They do need rich soil and full sun. They are little piggies and they want all of it. They want everything. They don't, I think these are ones that I think they don't like to be fertilized that much, or if you do fertilize them, like you don't fertilize them like excessively or something like that. I'm not quite sure. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this. I just know about these flowers. I'm not actually good at growing them. You do need to protect lilies and all of these bulb plants from deer and rabbits because they really, man, I had a deer one time pull the whole plant out of the freaking ground. Like they want it. They like those tulips and stuff. Cats? Why cats? That deer wasn't determined. He was just an asshole. Okay, I did not know that lilies are toxic to cats. Oh, wait, yes, I did. Yes, I did. And peace lilies are also toxic to cats and dogs. From my understanding, though, it's not like deadly. It's not. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's okay. We might have to look that one up because I heard that it's just that makes their throat itchy. Anyways, back to this. They do make long-lasting bouquets. I already said that. Okay, I have found black lily bulbs at Walmart. Just so you guys know. So the ones that I have in my garden right now, I did get those from Walmart. And you can go to Walmart right now and probably find it because I've seen them at several different ones. When I'm saying lily, I'm talking about this one. I think this one is called the Asiatic lily, and this one is called the Kala lily. And I've actually found the black Kala lilies at Sprouts. So that's just something to know. Tulip plants, black tulips. I've never seen them in person, but I do think that they are not that hard to find because some people are like super into tulips and they, have every variety of tulip in the world. And also bulb plants are just easy to, kind of transport and do stuff with anyways. Next one we have is irises. Irises are similar to bulb plants, but they are rhizomes, which means that they grow kind of from like a root, like a mother root ball, if that makes sense. I was trying to figure out how to describe this, but it's kind of just like there's a mother, okay, and then they send out little like shoots from the mom. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this. Okay, but because of their rhizomes, you will end up with a lot of irises after a couple years. Rhizomes like to multiply in mass. There's so many. You'll end up with so many. I had a gladioluses one time, and I just had they're also bulb plants, but they're also rhizomes. So gladioluses are like I had like 6, I think, at the beginning, and the next year I had like 25. I swear, there was so many the next year. I had to pull so many of them out. So yeah, that's a rhizome for you. That's a good thing about rhizome, and it's also the bad thing about rhizomes. You do have to thin them out after a couple years because they will overcrowd. There are several different types of irises. The black variety ones are the bearded iris and the Siberian. So this one is the bearded one, so it has these kind of ruffled petals. And then this one is the Siberian, so it doesn't have those. From my understanding, black irises are pretty common because people, like I said, like to use them as accents. So I'm pretty sure it's easy to find irises that are black. Excuse me. Okay. So to overwinter your irises, you have to cut them back basically to the ground, and then you mulch them. But you can't use a mulch that is kind of wet, like grass or something like that. You have to use like bark, pretty much, because if the irises are wet too long, they don't like that. They will die. They get moldy and they die. That's Irises actually do really well in Colorado because it is so dry in Colorado. Here in Black Forest, I see wild irises all the time. There's some like back here, like you can't see where I'm pointing, like like about 15 yards that way from my house. There's a group of irises that's like they're white with gray stripes on them. And then I've also seen some when I was walking somewhere that were like this big. I mean, this was like a huge giant iris, and it was purple. So yeah, irises really like Colorado because they don't like to get wet, or they don't like to be wet for too long. Root rot is actually something that's pretty common for them because they don't like being wet for too long. So if you're growing irises somewhere else, like that's more humid, I think that you might have a harder time with it. I mean, of course, I don't know, but I just think that it would be kind of hard to do it somewhere else that's just more humid or something like that. So yeah, be careful watering your irises. Next one we have is the black lace elderberry. I don't know if this is a different variety than a normal elderberry or if this is just the elderberry. I don't know anything about elderberries, but like I do have these bushes. Okay, I do have these, and all of the plant is edible. So it has berries that it actually grows. The berries are edible, and you can make like jams and stuff with them. You can also make teas out of the leaves and the flowers. You can use it as garnish. I believe you can also even eat the bark because towards the bottom, like towards the root, it kind of has like a bark, like a woody kind of skeleton, I want to say. Okay, I'm seeing what you guys are saying. Yeah, this plant is it's not like black flowers, but the whole bush, the leaves on it are black, and then it has these little pink flowers that grow on it, and then the little berries come out of that. They do take about a year to establish when you first plant them. So usually the first year they don't get a lot of growth. Usually it's the second and third year that they're going to be growing a whole lot. They grow pretty quickly to like several feet in like a year is what I'm trying to say here. Because they're going to be very, very big. They're about 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide. They do like the full sun because they are going to be growing really quickly, and they like a lot of fertilizer, really rich soil. Yeah, these are, dare I say, are they growers or are they showers? They're both. Best of both worlds. Like I do have these plants. I do have these bushes growing in my house. Like I have two of them. The first one, I don't know, like the one that I have over here, I don't know if that one died. There was hail last spring, and they got totally fucked up from that hail. So I don't know if that one lived because the leaves didn't come back on it, but the root, I mean, the bark part is still there. The other one, that one did grow a little bit, but then the winter came and the leaves died, and so I don't know if that one's coming back. Okay, do I actually have a Gothic garden? Kind of. I do my best. I only grow flowers that are black, but do they do well? I don't know. So yeah, they're Gothic in the sense that they're all dead. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, fertilize frequently. I said this. Prune every 3 years to encourage a bushier shape. Yeah, because when you when you trim certain plants back, they end up growing in a more like rounded way. This is true of like petunias and other things like that too. Things that grow pretty quickly. If you trim them back, they will grow more like rounded and more bushy instead of like tall and leggy. Yeah. She is actually good at gardening though. She had her own greenhouse and everything. I do have lavender. I actually have lavender and I have oh, what is that tea called? Chamomile. I have chamomile. I have other black plants. They just don't do well, okay? Part of the problem is I also forget, I get busy and I forget to like water stuff. So the next one I'm going to show you is the black and blue sage. So this one has these really green leaves, and then it has the stem for the flowers that is pure black, and then it has these little flowers that come out of it that are pretty much like mote blue, like they're bright blue, kind of purpley, but like I'd call it probably electric blue. They are an actual sage. I don't know. I know that there's a type of sage called blue sage. I don't think that this is the same kind of sage though. Because I get all the sages mixed up. But I think that blue sage is a really like tall bush kind of sage. And this one isn't very tall. It's about, I'd say it's about, yeah, like about a foot, maybe two. Yeah, actually, I don't do very well with succulents, to be honest. I think like sometimes I overwater them, and then also I can't get them to have enough sun. My succulents are always end up very leggy because they just are always reaching for the sun. I don't know. I don't know how to get it to do the thing correctly. Um, and I killed an aloe vera plant that was huge. That's funny that you say that because I have a Christmas cactus right up there, and that's like the only cactus succulent type plant that I've been able to keep alive. I grew this. It's a whole ass plant now, but this Christmas cactus was from like a little cutting like that big. Um, yeah, but yeah, I had this really big aloe vera plant. I'm saying it's big. It was like the leaves on it or whatever, the fronds or whatever they're called, that was like probably like 3 feet long, and then I overwatered it one time and it died. I was pretty sad about it. Is it your Christmas cactus? The Christmas cactus, they need a lot of sun. That's mostly the main thing with the Christmas cactus. So if you are having trouble with it, it's probably it doesn't have enough sun. Also, again, don't overwater it. Okay, back to this blue sage. Okay, black and blue sage. All right, we're back. So yeah, this black and blue sage does have a slightly different smell than like the regular white sage. It's a little bit more sweet or like florally. Oh, I have some dried black and blue sage that I was gonna bring and show you, but um, it's in the other room. I can't do it now. But they do dry really well, and you can, make bundles if you do that sort of thing. Like, what do they call them? Smudging. Yeah, you can make them into bundles and burn them too. I don't know, like, if you're into that, I don't know if it's got different properties than white sage. I'm not sure. Um, okay, so these plants, they do really well if you're in a pretty warm climate. So if you're in somewhere that's probably zone 7, maybe 6 and higher, you're going to have an evergreen. It's actually going to grow flowers all year long. Where I live, zone 3 or 4, it's didn't do very well. I'm gonna see if they came back, but I don't have high hopes for this. I don't I don't really believe that. Wait, do you mean like wild white sage? Because white sage is really easy to grow. Um Anyways, so yeah, I tried to grow my black and blue sage next to my house to try to give it more warmth from the house. So hopefully they came back. If not, I am going to probably try to grow them in a pot, because you can grow these in a pot, and overwinter them indoors. You can actually, they do fine in the shade, by the way. So if you want to grow these in the shade, they do well. They're actually pretty hardy in general. I had no problems with them at all. They grew and they did well. They do attract bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds, so that's very nice. And they are deer resistant. I did not have any deer eating up my friggin' sage. Okay, I do have plants that grow in the house pretty well. They just don't grow outside very well. It just requires so much more effort outside. Okay, so they like loamy soil. So what that means is that they like fluffier soil. So it's something that's just a little more like light. Um, don't like pack them in there, basically. And they are okay with neglect. You can forget to water them. You can overwater them. You can, I don't know. Personally, I had no problems at all with the black and blue sage. It grew and it did really well, and I got a lot of flowers from it, and I really like them. I like I said, I'm probably going to try again in a pot if I am not able to get them back again this year. So these ones, black scallops, I think they're also called black lace scallops. I wanted to point these ones out because I think these plants are really cool and I never see them on any list of black flowers. They're just like, okay, so they have this little pink flower, or I'm sorry, this little purple kind of bluish flower that grows kind of like, it kind of grows like a weed plant, to be honest. It like grows in like a bud, like it kind of grows like in a stalk. I don't know. And then it has these leaves that that are just the darkest black inky color. Like they're almost creepy looking because they're so dark. It looks like, the best way that I can describe it is it looks like Alien, like, from the movie Alien. That's what it looks like because they're like shiny. Um, they are deer resistant. I had no deer eating up these plants. I think it's probably because they look gross. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like I think they probably taste pretty bad. They look like they don't taste good at all. Like they look kind of like a garbage bag. um, they are very prolific. Like I had started with one plant and I put it in a pot that was just, something that I had outside that I just wanted to put a plant in. And I ended up with like 5 in there by the end of summer. I know that a lot of people will also grow them in containers, or they'll kind of section off a piece of their garden or lawn and just kind of trap them in because they will grow. They are quick and they keep going. And they are a little bit of a nuisance because they just grow so quickly and so much. I think that if you contain them, that they also might even try to jump out, if you know what I mean. Like they will migrate out. They'll drop seeds or something. I don't know. I don't even actually know how they grow or how they reproduce. I heard that they will try to like jump. You can totally completely forget about these plants. They're basically like a weed. Like you can't kill them. They love to grow. You can overwater them, you can underwater them, you can give them sun, you can give them no sun. They go. They just go. You can put them in a small pot, you can put them in a large pot. They're awesome, honestly. I love these plants. Yeah. And like I said, they have several different names. I want to say that the main most common name is the black scallops, but I think that they're also called black lace or something like that. So next we have the black buttons and black pincushions. I group these together because they're very similar plants. They have very similar care requirements and they look pretty similar, but they are different plants. This one right here is the black bachelor buttons, and this one is the black pincushion. In these pictures, these plants don't really look very dark, but this one mine was pretty dark. I want to say it was pretty black. It was darker than this. This one is pretty true to color, but this one for sure was much darker. Like I would almost say it was almost black, or if not very dark red. These do attract a lot of bees and butterflies, so a lot of people will grow them in kind of the back of their garden to kind of encourage the bees to come through the garden. They are very leggy, which means they're very tall. The pincushions are about 2 feet tall, I want to say, and the black buttons are a little taller. They're about 3 feet tall. So if you're growing them, they will need protection from the wind. Mine got fucked up by the wind. They got totally fucked. These ones, they actually need to be staked even sometimes because they can't hold themselves up sometimes because of the wind. And I'm saying they're tall. Like they're very tall. I think I even did stake this one and it still got messed up. I don't quite remember. They do need full sun, and the black buttons will do better with full sun. Like they become more robust. They become just more strong if you give them the full sun. They make really great bouquets because they're a lot like carnations. So I don't know why I didn't bring my dried flowers, but I have this one dried and it looks really nice still. It looks, like how when I picked it, it looks really good. They're a lot like carnations, so they do dry like a carnation will. The bachelor buttons. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Okay, bachelor buttons. They are perennials, and I think they live like 3 to 4 years. And they are like slightly frost resistant, so they should be in theory hardy in Colorado, but it's so windy here. Colorado's the worst weather, man. Pincushions are annuals, but they do drop seeds. So if you let them go all summer, you should have seeds at the end of the summer. Then they will grow back again the next year. In theory. The next one is the sunflower. I'm kind of running out of time. Okay. Okay, you want to plant your black buttons and black pincushions early in the spring, but you do want to plant them after the frost, which in Colorado is never. Pretty much like, yeah, in Colorado, it snows in June. And I know this because I have a Facebook post that like it snowed in June and I had to bring all my pots in. And that Facebook post of it snowing in June comes up every year, and it snows that first week of June every freaking year. So this is true. So yeah, black sunflowers. I personally have never grown black sunflowers, so I'm not really sure if this is going to be the true color of this. I just assume that it is. Um, I personally have only ever grown sunflowers when I was a kid. So I don't know how well they would do where I live here, but as a kid in Colorado, I did have I did have sunflowers in general growing. So they do need full sun, but they are drought resistant. However, they do not like to be overwatered. If you have like standing water on the flower on the base, like on the ground, they don't like that. It'll start to rot if you do that too often. So don't do that. They do need shelter from the wind because sunflowers grow really tall and really fast. You do need to stake your sunflowers sometimes because they grow like, I want to say when I was a kid, they were like 5 feet. They can get big. Sunflowers are a plant that a lot of animals will try to get. I'm talking squirrels, birds, deer. Every animal out there wants to eat your sunflowers. You need to protect your babies. They will even try to pick out the seeds. If you plant them in the ground, they will try to pick the seeds out of the ground. So yeah, you need to really protect your sunflower babies from the predators. You can cut your sunflowers and put them in a vase. They last quite a long time in a vase. I want to say like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even more. I've seen sunflowers in vases for a long time. And then once they're all the bloom is spent, you can harvest the seeds from the head. And sometimes animals will try to pick the seeds out of the head as well. So just know that. Oh, another thing about sunflowers is they don't really like to be fertilized too much. So you have to put them in really, really good soil, and then you can't really fertilize them that much, like if at all. I don't know why, they just don't like that. They don't like too much nutrients in one spot, pretty much. So these are the honorable mentions. These are plants that I tried to grow and couldn't, like for whatever reason, they didn't work for me, or they're plants that are not quite black, but I would still think are good for a Gothic garden. The first one is the hollyhock, which we saw at the beginning. The reason why I named the hollyhock is because I don't know why, but my hollyhocks never grow. I get 2 leaves out of them, and then they just don't grow any more than that. And then they'll come back next year and they'll grow the 2 leaves, and then they don't grow again. Like, I don't know why. I just cannot get hollyhocks to grow. I've tried growing them indoors and then trying putting them outside. They don't grow for me. I just don't know why. So that's why I added the hollyhock. So I personally never seen like a black hollyhock because it's never grown for me. The next one is the gladiolus, which is this one. This is the one I was talking about earlier, that they're really, really beautiful. Oh my gosh, the color of these in person, gorgeous. They're this really beautiful dark red. The tips of them are kind of black like this, how this shows here. But they only, like the flowers only last like maybe a week. That's the only problem that I have with the gladiolus. And also that they're not pure black, but the color is so beautiful. And they are, like I said, you get a million of them. You get a million of them by the next year. The next one we have is the hellebore, which is this one. I tried to grow this as an indoor plant, and I tried to grow it like 3 times, but for some reason, my hellebore plant kept getting this like fungus or a disease or something. It was just the sticky residue on the outside of it that I don't know why. And every time I cleaned it off, it would just die. So I never got an actual hellebore flower because they never really did very well. And every single time, I'm saying every single time, this happened with the hellebore. So I don't know, maybe it just doesn't like my house. It doesn't like my climate. I don't know. The next one is the penny black, which are these ones. These are really cute little flowers. They're about like this big, like an inch long, an inch in diameter. And the more common version of this is called baby blue eyes. These are super cute little flowers, and I really wish that I was able to grow them, but they do not do well in Colorado. They don't like cold climates at all, at all. Mine lasted like maybe a month. I think they would do better in some place that's just a lot warmer, probably California, where it's a little more humid, or Texas. Just, they don't like it here, and I'm sad about that because they were super cute. Next one is the dahlia, and I included this just because everybody knows like black dahlia, you know. But dahlias are not actually black. They're usually just this dark red. That's why I didn't mention them. And I personally don't really think that dahlias are that pretty, so I've never really cared about them. But you know, I think that they're still goth enough to be in a goth garden. Next one is the bat orchid. That's this really cool looking one here that looks kind of like a bat. The problem with this one is it takes so long to germinate, and if you mess up at any point in trying to germinate these, they won't grow. So it takes like 9 months minimum to germinate them, and they have to have constant wet soil, and they have to be at a certain temperature, and they have to be in the sun the whole time. So if you're able to manage that, you will end up with a really hardy plant, to be honest. I've heard that they're actually very easy to keep. They're a lot like peace lilies when you actually get them going. I just have never been able to get them going, and I've tried several times. It doesn't work for me. The next one, are succulents. That's these ones. This one right here is actually an echeveria. I forget the name of this one, but I actually have this one growing like right back there. Two of these ones I have actually had die because I overwatered them. This one, the echeveria, like I said, I'm not good with succulents for some reason. I had an echeveria 2 times, a black one 2 times. The first one did really well, and then I tried to cut it back because it was getting really leggy, and then it died for some reason. And the other one, my partner Nick, he overwatered them, and I warned him. I warned him to stop watering that plant, and it ended up dying. And I showed him. I was like, "You did this." So yeah, that's your black succulents. And then the last one is the bleeding heart flower, which are these ones. They're these cute little heart-shaped flowers. They're about an inch in diameter. They're pretty small. They're very cute though. You can actually grow them inside as well. I have mine growing outside. They need shade. Okay, they need shade. You will kill them if you put them in too much sun. So they do actually better indoors as a house plant. And they make these cute little flowers. They also come in pink and white. So if you like other types of things like that. Black roses don't exist. I'm sorry, I'm trying to finish before time is run out, but black roses don't actually exist, just so you know. So extra tips on your garden. Plan your garden at the beginning of your year. I'd say probably like February, March, you want to start planning your garden and what you're going to have, where you're going to plant it, your whole schedule. Because, you know, this is a hobby. So you need to actually be out there gardening and like watering your plants, fertilizing them, digging stuff out, pulling weeds. That's partly why I'm not very good at gardening, is because I don't put the time into it that much. Be wary of black flower seeds. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is. And that's why I'm trying to talk about the black roses, is I've never seen a black rose. Okay. And sometimes online you will see like products, Amazon, Etsy, eBay, like stuff like that. Basically like the same places where you buy like shitty Lolita is the same places you would find fake flower seeds. So if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If like you're not really sure that this is going to be a real flower, Google it. See if, you know, amateurs have taken pictures of these flowers, because you're gonna end up buying plants that are not for that, you know, seeds that are either duds or they're not, you know, what you actually ordered. It is okay to buy online. I've had plants shipped to me and they do fine in shipping. Just make sure that you know what you're buying, because sometimes they'll say like that you're getting a plant, but you're actually getting like like the like a, what is it called? A dormant plant. There you go. A dormant plant. So you're just getting like a root bundle. That's something that's pretty common that you'll get. So just be careful of what you're buying. Make sure you're reading everything. Sometimes you'll end up with buying flowers that are like, they won't ship until the end of the summer or something like that. So then you can't even use them. Like, just be careful. Research every single plant you get, even indoors plants, because every plant is different and every plant has different care. You need to know what you're going to be using it for and what you're going to be doing. So just make sure you know what, you know, that you know the care of your plant, because sometimes some plants don't like water, some plants don't like sun. It's not a one size fits all for flowers. Yeah, come up with a routine. I already said that. And if you mess up and something dies, don't feel bad about it, okay? Like, it's just a plant. You can try again next year. It's not that big of a deal. Just don't be hard on yourself if things don't go the way that you wanted. Things happen. Sometimes there's freaking hail and freak storms and things happen, and it's fine. So again, my name is Nicole Ghost. And I also go by La Vida en la Forêt Noire on Instagram. I'm going to try to end this panel now because I'm over time. But thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all your comments. And I hope that you guys are able to do your black garden at home, and maybe you got some ideas from all of this and are able to do something really cool and are successful with some of the plants that I wasn't successful with. That would be awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.